5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. As I've been saying, next week, Thursday, I'll be up in Minnesota at the Golden Valley Library. Go to wdma.org for details. Please sign up so we know how many are coming. It is limited seating, but it's going to be a smash-bang presentation on why mail. I think it's going to be one of my best ever. Working hard on it right now. Okay, so let's get going over here. And I went over to Yext. There was a story about Yext, okay? And I don't know what Yext was. So I went over to yext.com. I saw this ad in or this story in Media Post, okay, about Todd. And here, let's cue up Todd. Right here, you won't be able to see it too well because it doesn't fit on here very well, and I'm not quite sure why, but Todd's over in the left corner. Okay, so now we got to get over to Todd. Here he goes.
I just got diagnosed with dry eyes.
Is that common?
Oh, it is common. Over 1.1 billion Americans suffer from dry eyes.
Now, the problem with that is, of course, there's only 300 million Americans, men, women, and children altogether, something around numbers 330 or something like that. But there is no 1.3 billion, okay? But Todd is happy to volunteer misinformation.
That can't be right.
It's right.
Can't be right.
Chestnut-sided warbler.
Definitely.
That's a bat.
That's a warbler.
It's a bat in heat.
Who wrote Metamorphosis?
Kafka. Francis Ford Kafka.
Dad.
That's Francis Ford Coppola anyway. So Todd's all mixed up. And I give these kinds of answers regularly. So I know when I know bad answers when I see one. Oh my God. I think he almost got it right. Anyway, so I went to Yext and I thought, well, maybe I can search out a brand because the article said you can overcome 82% of online information about brands is unverified. What's the source for that? No source is given, right? No source is given for 82% of information about brands is unverified. What do you mean? The headquarters? What percent isn't verified? What percent is verified? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I had a little chat with Steven out there, and I told him he was more like Todd because I said, what if I want to find out about Apple? And he said, no, that's not what we do. We're soliciting Apple to try to get Apple to put information up here so it's verified. I said, why wouldn't I just go to the Apple website if I want to hear what a company wants to boast about themselves? They said, well, we don't allow companies to boast. No. But the company's paying for a spot on your site. Never mind. Don't go to Yext. It's a nice name. I thought it was exciting, but it's not going to work. Okay. This was an interesting article. WhatsApp sues NSO Group. And I don't know who the heck NSO Group is, but what happened was WhatsApp has totally encrypted end-to-end messaging. Okay, it's owned by Facebook now. But these people, some people, somewhere, were able to, users may appear to get an ordinary call, but malware would quietly infect the device with spyware, giving the hackers full access to the device. So the phone, obviously, when you see the message, it's unencrypted because otherwise you couldn't make any sense of it. So it's near impossible to access the messages as they go across the internet, but they might be able to get it once it unencrypts on your phone. That's pretty scary stuff. WhatsApp says it was a couple of hundred people, diplomats, and free speech advocates or something like that. 1,400 devices were affected by the exploit, but you didn't even have to answer your phone. It just rang up like a call, and I get dozens of calls these days. I get them in Asian languages that I don't speak. I get them talking about my car's warranty, which is an old car that hasn't been in warranty for probably a decade. I get Whitestone Health has called me 4 or 5 times from all different areas of the country. No idea what it is. I wish I could stop. But the point is that I get dozens of calls. I wouldn't even know if I was getting one of these hacker calls. I just wouldn't know, right? So very serious stuff. Very serious. I think Apple is right to say, our phones are secure. I don't know if that's true. Probably isn't. But I think it's a good positioning. It made me think for about 10 seconds about Apple. Okay. Mark Ritson. I always like Mark Ritson's articles. That says it's time to stop. I always like Mark Ritson's articles. He was talking about Interbrand. And Interbrand, what I liked is I didn't know the history of Interbrand. It turned out that back in the late 80s, the accounting standards meant that you could acquire a company. You could value a company based on sales and profits and EBITDA and valuation multiples, and not value the brands individually if a company owned multiple brands. And this Australian firm figured that out, and so they would buy companies and then they would sell the individual brands to competitors one at a time and get a lot more money for it without doing anything really. And John Murphy, a brand guy, said that he called up the chairman of this target company and said that he'd created a proprietary method for placing a financial value on the brands, and that if he assessed that company's extensive portfolio, it would improve its valuation significantly, far beyond the reach of this hostile takeover. And the takeover was actually prevented by government intervention, but that was the launch of Interbrand's best global brands, if you've heard about it. So last week the top 100 came out, and Apple was the top spot, Google, Amazon, Microsoft following up behind. But what's interesting is now Interbrand has attempted to come up with winning content to suggest that they are not only expert assessors of brand value, but astute builders of it too. You wouldn't think that the appraiser is going to also be the builder of your house. You wouldn't think that the timekeeper at the Olympics could also line up with Usain Bolt, right? It's specialization. So anyway, that seems to be pretty easy. But I like this. Anyone who proclaims the end, death, or disappearance of anything has not been paying attention. Okay? Because I've seen a lot of articles on the death of direct mail. And we're going to be talking about why mail up in Minneapolis. So if you proclaim the death of something, you might want to, and Interbrand is talking about the end of positioning, and it's going to be dead. Anyway, the end of cinema. So that brings me to the death of PowerPoint. And Mark O'Brien and I have just connected, and what was interesting to me, and I'm not sure if it was the meme thing here, but whatever it was, Mark got an incredible reaction in about 2 days. If you looked at the end here, it said Mark's article had 249 comments. Okay, comments. That's astounding. That's not the viewers. I don't even see the viewers. I think there were 39,000 views. Okay, on a good day I get 600, and so maybe I need better memes on the cover of my stuff. But anyway, Mark harkens back to the days when you had to take notes and try to discern the outline of a presenter. And I read an article recently that said college kids don't know how to take notes. They get the PowerPoint slide decks handed to them, and that's all they know. They don't know anything else. And that may well be true. I don't know. I'm not a college kid anymore. But he harkens back to this corporate days and mentions that you used to have to send out for slides. First you try to take notes of what your boss wanted a presentation to be, and then you'd have to transcribe your notes into slides and then send them out to be made into slides. I shortcutted the process by using Lotus 123, and you could take a chart, and you could hide the lines and the dots, and you could put text labels on the data set, and that would let you float words in space on the screen. And then I had a hood that I'd put over a black hood, and I had a camera on a tripod with one of those little sort of remote clicks so it wouldn't jiggle the thing, and I would do time exposures of the screen and I would capture the slides that way. It saved me $6 a slide when I was doing presentations in the 80s. And sure enough, you had to do that. And people would compliment me on my slides. Said, "Where'd you get such dramatic slides?" And it was that's how I did it, with a wide-angle lens in front of my monitor that was huge. Actually, I got a big monitor just for that. So he says, the worst thing in the world is reading from the slides, and I agree. Although for me, it's placeholders. But I'm going to try on my coming speech to have only charts and pictures and no fine print. Let's see if I can pull it off. I think I can. I can talk forever, as you know. Anyway, but I was just shocked at the response that this got. It was really dramatic. And I don't think PowerPoint's going away. I don't think Mark was exactly saying that PowerPoint's the problem. The problem is, of course, as we